College App Week gives every student in our building the opportunity to apply to a school or school of their choice under the direction and guidance of an adult individual that can help them through some of the trickier parts of it. During College App Week, a student will apply for Tennessee Promise successfully. Will also apply to a school or schools of their choice and do the application accurately, correctly. What we have found is that sometimes students will just guess. And when they have an adult in the room that can actually answer those questions for them, they apply accurately, and it causes them to not have hang-ups later on down the road. The student has had one-on-one time with the counselor up until now to plan out and plot out the individual steps that the student wants to be able to execute in order to get to where they want to go. They will not have one-on-one per se for the entire time. It's a 1 counselor to 20 student ratio. So it's a small group effort, but it's not one-on-one. They'll have access to a teacher one-on-one, but they won't necessarily get the whole teacher for the whole time one-on-one. No, and we're doing that on purpose. We want to try and maintain the integrity of the academic classrooms. So we're using the senior capstone class, where this is actually part of the requirements for being in senior capstone or completing the FAFSA and applying to college. So we're actually helping them do their work while they're in the classroom, and we're using that classroom as a platform to be able to do it. So we talked to students a little bit about this last week when we were preparing for the senior retake for ACT. We told them that as a lifelong skill, you need to memorize your social security number. It's time. And so we've asked them for a couple weeks now to start memorizing their social security number. We talked about individual schools that that student wants to go to. We asked them to research those schools and see if there was an application fee. All of the TCATs, most of the 2-year schools don't require any type of application fee to apply, but some of the 4-year schools do require that, and they are required to pay that in order to complete the application. So we let them know starting 2 weeks ago, hey, you need to research that. You need to see if they have an application fee, and if they do, be prepared with a credit card or a debit card that you can pay that application fee and get it finished, because your application isn't done if that fee isn't paid. So we also talked to them about having a list of extracurricular activities that they were involved in high school, their community service hours, because things like that can come up on each college application is different, so it's hard to prepare them all the exact same way. So we tried to give them a blanket of things to have prepared. From parents, support. It's hard to have 300 teenagers that you're responsible for to be able to get through this. So support is, and patience. We're going to try and get every student successfully on their path, the chosen path, but also get them money for it to be able to make that happen. So be patient, communicate with us. Please be communicative with us, because we want to make sure that you guys have the right answers, and that you guys that we aren't competing against each other. We both have the same goal, and that's to see your child succeed. And we're, if we work together instead of at each other, then that's going to only help the child more. During FAFSA Frenzy Week, parent involvement becomes paramount. Because students are not independent, because they do receive support from an adult, we are going to have some parental input and some parental information, like social security numbers and date of birth, and the day that you were married or divorced, and it's going to import some of your tax information, because that FAFSA uses what tax information that you have from 2016 in order to determine what scholarships and what money that your child can have available to them. And so I understand that I'm asking for a lot of information, but it's information that's going to have to be given in order for your child to receive any type of financial aid. So that the parental involvement really comes more into play in FAFSA Frenzy Week than in College App Week. If they know beyond the shadow of a doubt where they want to go, apply to one. If you know that you know, just apply to that one. There's not a reason to put anything out there for any of the other ones. For students who are entertaining different, maybe athletic scholarships or different scholarships from different places, I tell kids probably not more than 3. I tell them as a general rule to have your safety school, the one that you kind of know that you're going to be able to get into and be able to pay for. What school you really want to go to. Maybe that's you want to go to Tech, you want to go to MTSU, you want to go to ETSU. So that's kind of my stretching out of my boundary. It's not so safe, but I can do it. And then if you have a dream school, if you have one that's, oh man, it's kind of out of my league, or I don't know, it's a long shot, but I'm going to do it, then apply for it. You never know unless you toss your hat into the ring to know whether or not you're going to be able to make it. I tell them to try to do 3 or fewer, because every school that you throw your hat into the ring for, you have to meet those eligibility requirements for. You also have to meet the deadlines for it, and so you have to be very, very diligent, and they're going to need information from you. And if you have more than 3, it just becomes real tricky, really, really quick. So I say 3 at a maximum. Yes. We're always available to help, and Miss McCulley, we have a teen advise person who's on our staff at our school. We're one of the 11 counties in the state that has a teen advise college advisor, and the way that I explain that is it's kind of like she bridges the gap between 12th to 13th grade, whatever that is for that child. And so they will have the opportunity to sit down with her, and she will do check-ins with them even after College App Week and FAFSA Frenzy Week. When emails start rolling in from colleges and kids are like, oh, I don't know what to do about this, they need this form, she can sit down with them and say, okay, here's what you need to do, and here's what's missing, and make sure that everything's settled. The one thing that you have to be cautious about is that some schools have application deadlines. So if you miss the cutoff, well, then you can apply later. It's beyond that. So that's why we've been talking to them for a couple of weeks now about which schools do you want to go to, you know, do they have deadlines, that kind of stuff. So as long as the deadline hasn't passed from the college, yes, it's never too late to apply for that school, and we'll help anybody sit down and apply to wherever they want to go. Next step is finding more funding. We want students to be able to find money to make their dreams a reality. We've told kids over and over and over again, there's never more money available than right after you get out of high school. The higher up you go in your education, the more expensive the degrees get and the certifications get, and the less money that's available. So that's kind of backwards, but that's kind of how it is. So I always tell them, rake in as much money as you can when you're graduating high school, because that's when people really, really come out of the woodwork and want to give people money to go to school. So at that point, we start working on the FAFSA, because we know that has to be done in order to get any type of aid from the federal government or the state government. And then come January, that's when local scholarships come into play. That's when the local different pots of money that people have set up for different local type scholarships, that application will be digital, and it will open up in January. So parents can help look for that to help kind of cap off that funding.